Today I'm going to show you how to use a Power BI dashboard as an end user. So you're not making the dashboards, you're just exploring the data and the visualizations. So I made this dashboard using open source data that I got from Kaggle. So it just kind of has like random data in it. It has test scores, student lifestyle data, and episodes of The Office. This is an embedded Power BI report, and there's a couple of features to note, like page navigation on the bottom. We also have a zoom. So if you want to look closer, look at any of the data, you can zoom in and out with that. And one feature I really like is the full screen mode. That just makes it easier to see. You can share. This one's publicly available, but they're not all publicly available, so you would be able to share it. But this dashboard has three main pages, so there's a navigation button on the top, and you can just use those to navigate between report pages. So let's start with test scores. This is a scatter plot, and typically on a scatter plot, we have the independent variable on the bottom on the x-axis and the dependent variable on the side in the y-axis. So these are usually used to show trends, and if the points appear to follow along a trend, such as this one, then it indicates that there might be a relationship between the independent and dependent variables. So in this case, we have test scores and time studied. And we also have a legend here indicating that the color of the nodes are the number of courses the student is taking. So if you hover on a point, you get a tooltip, and some tooltips are like this, and they just show a summary of what's already in the graph. And then other tooltips are custom, and I'll show you that in a bit. Now, if you click on something in the legend, like this one, then it highlights only those nodes. And then I have a range filter. So you can drag it. We could go 4 or 5 courses, or 3 courses. And then you can also type. So let's go to a different report. This one has a little bit more going on. So this is student lifestyle. So just questions about expenses, mostly about how much they spend and what they're spending their money on. This report shows how clicking on an element of one visualization can filter all the other visualizations, which isn't always the case, but it often is. So if I click no here, then it filters all the data for no, just highlighting the no data. And then I can click on it again to go back to all data. And then we have, again, another slider filter here and a yes or no filter. So this would be people who aren't receiving scholarships. This would be people who are, and then selecting none is all of them. Another feature this report shows is a drill through. So there's a drill through on this graph here for the year that the student's in, and you can see that because when you hover over it, it says right click to drill through. So I'm going to do that. And by doing so, I get this other page that is a summary of just the year 4 students. And there's not always drill throughs, but if there is, it will say click right click to drill through. So like this one says that, but this one doesn't have the year, so it doesn't show that. Next report. So this is Office episodes. This report has a different tooltip, a custom tooltip, which shows the viewership by date for a certain season. So if you hover over season 3, for example, it shows both when it airs and how the viewership was during that time. And here we have a table which shows independent observation, so every episode that's included in our data. And you can filter this by, again, clicking on a visualization. So every episode from season 3 appears here. And you can also filter everything with these drop down menus. And to select more than one from thing from a drop-down menu, you just hold Control if you're on Windows and Command if you're on a Mac. Another feature is you can click on focus mode, which zooms in on the data if you just want to look at one graph at a time. And if you right click, you can show as a table. So then you can kind of get the visualization and also uh, the data. This one's not as descriptive, but maybe this one is a little bit more descriptive. I'd say one tip for reading the data, just to make sure that you really understand, is always reading the headers for the X and Y axis, exploring the data a little bit, paying attention. A lot of the time, the X or Y axis is dynamic, so it can change. Like, for example, here, the values on the Y axis change when I filter for 4th year. So just paying attention to those changes, always reading the values and the titles, and also hovering to get a little bit more information. This is an overview of everything I talked about in the video with timestamps. If there's something you'd like to go over again, just go to the timestamp. I'll also put this in the description of the video. Thanks for watching.